Well, Colin, you're the environment spokesman, freshwater expert, I suppose, or spokesperson. So what is the issue here?
Yeah, well, it's not too many issues, Mark. Well, no, there is issues, but it's just we think freshwater farm plans are a good idea, but we want to use them as instead of a resource consent for farming. So this is where we've got winter grazing, and at the moment we need to have a resource consent, but we think these freshwater farm plans will fit in a really good place to deal with some of the issues happening on farm. So identifying and dealing with the winter grazing, but also a farm plan will identify the at-risk areas on your farm. So this could be gullies that get continually wet, and it's about excluding stock from those risky areas. But the trouble is, it's a one-size-fits-all from central government, pushing down out to the regions.
And you've got quite a deadline coming up. I mean, August is the start of these things, but you haven't sort of received the information yet, or what's required.
So government tell us they're going to turn on the regulations in Southland and in Waikato at the start of August. So here we are, just right at the end of May, and we still haven't seen the regulations, and we're going to have to stand these things up. We're going to have to get professional expertise from the professional farming community, like the consultants and industry representatives, to help certify these plans within 18 months of when the regulations are turned on. So that's a big workload.
How many farmers are we talking about?
Well, so we're still trying to work that out. So it's around about 35,000 we understood, but I was talking to some officials last week, and it could be up to 50,000 farmers across the whole country. So within 3 years, every farmer is needed to expect to have these regulations. These farm plans all sort of signed up, certified and audited. It's a huge workload. So we've made representation to the Ministry for Environment to enable regional council to have a lot more discretion on how they get farmers to get these plans. And for example, if you've got a really intensive farm, it could be a livestock finishing place or a dairy farm that uses lots of fertilizer and lots of animals that will be facing a risk to the environment. Get those farmers done first. And the more extensive ones that aren't causing too many issues, we can get those farmers turned on in a few years' time when we're caught up. And the other opportunity is, like, a lot of the dairy farmers have their own like management plans that they're like a quality assurance plan, and we can incorporate them in together. So we've been working with the government to try and merge these two plans together, and that's called integrated farm planning. So, but that's still hasn't quite landed. So we're hoping that, basically we just want to stall this down until we can get all these things in place. It's quite frustrating, actually.
And I understand that even, farms is 20 hectares is the threshold, which sounds pretty small. I mean, that's just a lifestyle block in some respects, isn't it?
Yeah, so those smaller farms, so the regulations say it's down to 20 hectares. Every farm above that has to have these farm plans. So, leave those farmers right to the end, or if at all. So this is central government rules telling the regions how to do it. So we would like the regional councils to have more discretion on how they undertake this type of stuff.
So what do you think this is all about? It sort of feels like a box ticking exercise.
Yeah, it is a little bit, I suppose. I think farm plans have got a good place, because but it's just the overpowering of central government pushing down into the region. So it's a good way of farmers telling the good activities on their farm. So this is on a really positive note, how that might work, but it's just because we haven't seen them, and they're about due to land, and then within 6 weeks we're supposed to start this. And the start of August is a very busy time on farms. And if you're a dairy farm, I don't think you get much sense out of a dairy farm until them near Christmas, by the time they do their calving and have their mating, and they're sort of caught up by then.
What sort of reaction have you received, if any?
We've been communicating with the officials, and I'd like to think they're taking their points on. The thing is, the regulations were due out a few months ago, and it just keeps keeping delayed. So we're expecting them out before the field days. So hopefully, we're just at the end of May now. So look, I'd like to think we get them within a week or so.